Erling Haaland is still being reported as the number one target for Chelsea this summer. So we're posing this question to you. Who will be the striker that Roman Abramovich and Thomas Tuchel sign this summer? There are also reports today there could be a cheeky little bid for Jadon Sancho on the way. We're going to provide you with a Conte update and much, much more. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Here we go. Good morning. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. It was a momentous day yesterday in relation to the transfer window, the new manager saga that's going on in football as well. And it feels as though silly season has well and truly arrived. As we're going to do each and every single day on the Football Terrace, we do our best to aggregate the news from across multiple media outlets, social media, etc., and give you, the fans, a chance to have your say and have your opinion. We, of course, saw the words. I haven't watched the interview, but we read the words and the transcript from the Lukaku interview yesterday, stating that he is happy at Inter Milan. He's had a great new conversation with the new manager Inzaghi. A lot of people, by the way, it's the brother of the great striker Inzaghi, not the great striker. Just so a few people yesterday saying, Lukaku is going to be offside now because of Inzaghi's training. Different people, brothers, but different people nevertheless. So we saw that happen, and almost without fail, Sky Italy, Simon Phillips, and a number of other media outlets started reporting on the facts that Erling Haaland was still and always has been the number one target for Chelsea. Now, that's always been the case. And I think that's something that we spoke about quite candidly here on the Football Terrace. Lukaku is always seen as a third choice option, but maybe a more attainable signing, especially with Antonio Conte leaving Inter Milan. Would that upset the apple cart? Lukaku has been quite forthright in stating that he's not leaving, he's not looking to move. I say watch this space in relation to that, because things can change. Things can change at the drop of a hat. But are Chelsea going to start mounting a major effort, probably after the Euros, for Haaland? That is the big question today. It's a deal that would cost way north of £100 million. This is a player that's available for around £70 to £75 million circa next summer with his buyout clause. Do any of you think Chelsea are going to push on forward and try and get this deal done? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on that today. We'll delve into the article from Simon Phillips in a few moments to talk about that in a little more detail. We are going to open up the lines for you to come on and have your say. There's also another article I was reading this morning in the Evening Standard that went on to say, don't rule it. In relation to the same story, it says Lukaku says he's staying despite the interest from Chelsea, although their first choice was always Borussia Dortmund wunderkind Erling Haaland. The article then goes on to say, don't rule out a summer move for Jadon Sancho, with Man United stalling over a bid for the England winger. I think what's interesting about that is there's a lot of Man United fans that are fearful that a bid from Chelsea for Jadon Sancho could come in. There hasn't been anything credible yet. There's been nothing credible yet from any kind of tier one journalist about a bid pending for Jadon Sancho. But could it be the case? The Evening Standard are reporting on it. The Evening Standard are bringing it up as well. I also want to talk about Kieran Trippier today. Could be set to have a big summer with England. Trent Alexander-Arnold's injury yesterday looked bad, as in bad enough to keep him out of the Euros. Easily a 4 to 6 week injury, which rules him out for the entire tournament. Kieran Trippier was set to play a major part anyway, of course, just having won La Liga with Atletico Madrid under the tutelage of Diego Simeone. He is linked with a big move back to Manchester United. Atletico Madrid seemingly in huge financial difficulties, like the majority of teams in Spain, could look to cash in on him now. A deal for around £20 million is being quoted across the spectrum for him. So Man United fans, I want your thoughts and feelings today. Kieran Trippier to Manchester United as backup and support to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I forgot his name for a moment there. What are your thoughts and feelings on that? I want to know what you make of that transfer rumor that is circulating as well. In terms of Conte to Spurs, I know we put that in the title today. Not too much has changed since last night. There's a lot of new stories out this morning, but things remain as they were. Things remain pretty much as they were. Spurs would still like Mauricio Pochettino. He would be first choice to bring back, but it's almost impossible to get a deal done to enable PSG to let him go. PSG are not in the process of talking to any other managers. There were some mooted reports about Zinedine Zidane maybe returning, but they haven't really sort of produced much fruit in relation to conversations. So PSG are not going to want to let Poch go so soon, so early into his contract. Spurs have put a lot of effort in the last 24 hours into getting Antonio Conte lined up. It does appear that most of those ducks are now in a row, and an announcement could happen at any moment in relation to a deal being struck between the two parties. Of course, Conte and Spurs are kind of open-ended. There's no chain. Neither are attached to a manager or a club at this moment in time. So it makes that deal a little bit easier to get through. But we're taking calls this morning on all these subjects. I'm going to go to your comments first of all. Carefree here says, Terry, imagine Havertz as a false nine, Mount and Sancho behind him. Could work. I mean, Jadon Sancho is better than all the other inside forward or attacking midfielders at Chelsea. Like Jadon Sancho's levels. So I don't see why Chelsea wouldn't look at him, to be fair. Mount's brilliant, but he's better than Mount. He's better than Ziyech. He's better than Hudson-Odoi. So I could definitely see that happening. Why not? Why not? He's one of the best young creators that Europe as a continent has produced in 60 years. DJ here says, good morning, Terry, and everyone in the chat. I somehow cannot see Haaland coming to Chelsea. Dortmund won't sell him. As for Sancho, I think his move to United is more likely. Do you know, the Haaland thing's interesting. I would love to see what Dortmund would do if a mammoth £130 million offer hit the table. I would love to see their actual reaction to that. But I do hear you. Roman's Army here says, Fabrizio Romano said in these podcasts, Chelsea remain interested in Sancho, but not a priority. In fairness, Roman, I mean, listen, I don't have any inside information, as in I don't talk to any of the agents. I don't talk to, well, there's one agent I've got a relationship with, which I speak about, but I don't speak to agents. I don't speak to the clubs. I will never profess or try to be a Fabrizio. These people have their space. We've actually got Christoph Terra on the show later today. He's a very well-connected journalist that will be talking us through some of these things. So you'll get an opportunity to super chat in your question to him a little bit later on today, live on the air, which I'm really looking forward to hosting for you. But there's one thing that in journalists I've spoken to, journalists we've had on, every report I've read, what you've just said there and what Fabrizio has been saying has been the case for months. There is loose interest from Chelsea and Sancho, but not a priority. The fear factor for me, though, as a United fan, is the more we drag our heels, if Chelsea can't land any of these strikers, the priorities can change. And if we leave that door open, it could be a very, very painful summer for Manchester United fans. There is no doubt about it. Let's go to some more of your comments here. Of course, we prioritize super chats and member chats. As you will know, just looking here, another Chelsea member says, big up yourself, Terry. And I don't know if we can get Haaland this year. It would be great. As I say, no one knows. But put the bid in. You know, put some blood in the water and see what appears. Try something. Where's the harm? Where's the I just don't see what the harm in trying it would be. Just to give you an update, we have got polls running on who people think is going to be the next Chelsea striker, or who think Chelsea will sign up front. On the YouTube community, currently 43% currently stating they think it's going to be Haaland who is the new Chelsea signing this summer. Lukaku 34%, Kane 9%, and then other at 14%. We put the same poll out on Twitter. Twitter's very different. Twitter has 38% saying other, 16% Lukaku, 18% Kane, and 26% Haaland. So it's an interesting sort of split at this moment in time. It really, really is in relation to what the viewers think and the audiences think. But I want your views and your opinions on that today. We have another super chat here that says, if we are not getting a proper striker, I'd rather get João Felix. He's more talented than Sancho, proper footballer. But Atletico will not sell him cheap. They won't sell him cheap. But when it comes to players of João Felix, Mbappe, Greenwoods, Mounts, Fodens, Rashfords, these players, the Haalands of this world, these top-end, high-end, young football players, you've got to pay the premium for them. And the reason the premium is so high is not just their talent, but it's that longevity that you can get out of them. It truly, truly is. Let's do some more of these comments coming through here. If Haaland signs, Chelsea's squad is guaranteed. Who knows? Mbappe to Liverpool. I swear I read a tweet yesterday. I haven't verified whether the information is true, but Fabrizio said there's no way that's happening. We'll see. I've said all along, Liverpool can sign who they want, but they will not sign a massive player that's going to cost 80 mil plus without selling someone. That's just not their model. It just isn't what they're doing. Unless they break that model, I can't see it coming. I can't see it coming. Have you not watched Mount in full? I've watched every game Mount's played for the last 2 years. I think he's brilliant. And don't get confused with, I think Sancho's better, that therefore Mount is bad. Not at all. You know? A lot of people think Lewandowski is better than Harry Kane. Doesn't make Harry Kane a bad striker. I think Mason Mount shut me up. 2 years ago, when I saw Mount play, I thought to myself, nah, he's all right. I never thought he'd completely cut the mustard. The last 12 to 15 months, he's gone up a level. I've been educated. That's it. But I do think Jadon Sancho is a better overall football player. But that doesn't mean Mason Mount is bad. It just is what it is. Remember, this is what I'm saying about Sancho. Whether he joins Man United or Chelsea, my belief in him will remain the same. This isn't because he's linked with us. It's the way I am with footballers. If I rate someone, doesn't matter who they sign for, I rate them in exactly the same way. How much is Haaland going to cost? Listen, it's going to be north of £120 million this summer. There's no doubt. Granite G says, I just don't see Dortmund selling their two best players in one window. But then again, doesn't Haaland have a release clause? Well, this is the point. This is what they would have to weigh up, Dortmund. How likely are they to make top four with no Haaland, no Sancho? It's difficult. Who could their replacements be? Maybe Chelsea could do a deal. Maybe Chelsea could say, you can have Haaland. We'll give you 120, 130 million for Haaland. And you can have, I'm just going to throw some names out there. You can have Tammy Abraham in with the deal. And you can have Callum Hudson-Odoi on loan for a year and we'll pay half the wages. If they want that player, of course. You know, that could be used as a make weight to get that deal done. It's not, for me, that isn't beyond the realms of possibility. There are ways that you can make that work. Terry, reliable Liverpool in the know say Liverpool want Sancho and want the deal done before the Euros. Liverpool may want Sancho. They may want Sancho, but they're not paying that money for him without selling somebody first. I honestly, if Liverpool bid the asking price for Sancho before the Euros without selling a major player, and they just do that element, I will do 5 streams in a Liverpool shirt and donate £100 to a charity of your choice. I'm that confident, not just in what I thought, just in what the experts have said about it in relation to that. Looking at some more of these comments here. Terry, I just woke up. Can you give me a recap? We'll do a recap. Then we're going to share the link now as well for you to come on and have your say this morning. We want to know what's going on in your mind in relation to these deals that are happening today. But essentially, Erling Haaland is now being reported, or it's now being reported and reiterated, really, that he is the #1 target for Chelsea this summer. That has never changed, regardless of the Lukaku situation. And that's something that we spoke about many, many times here on the terrace. There are reports in the Evening Standard this morning that Chelsea could be submitting a bid at some point for Sancho over the course of this summer. Kieran Trippier to Manchester United is a deal that keeps rearing its head, and we want to take calls, we want to get views, we want to get opinions in relation to that today. And of course, Conte is close to being announced as the new Tottenham manager. If you didn't phone in last night, but you still want to get views, we still want to get opinions on that today. A lot of people are saying to me, Terry, how can you say Sancho is as good as Mount? Mount's won a Champions League, Sancho hasn't. Yeah, and if Sancho was at Chelsea this season, he'd have won a Champions League. That Mount's amazing. Okay, listen, I'm going to change it. Mount's better than Sancho. Maybe that's just easier for people. If I just say Mount's better than Sancho, cool. That might be a lot easier. I'm not saying Mount's bad. Mount's amazing. I think Sancho's amazing. I just think Sancho's slightly better. That's all. It's not deep. Pulisic plus 15 to 20 million for Sancho and still buy Haaland. All that just like, I don't really get what you're saying. All just like 130, 140 mil. But yeah, I mean, maybe you could do that. I mean, Chelsea have got the money isn't the issue for Chelsea. It really isn't. It's getting the deals done. Someone here says Foden is better than both. And I don't think that's a bad shout saying Foden is better than both. Do you know what I'm really excited about when it comes to all three of those players? They're all English. My English boys, wearing the three lions. I was really happy to see Saka, by the way, last night score a goal. I thought Jack Grealish at times looked really, really good. It's just excellent. It's really sad for Trent to pick the injury up. I'm telling you now, England, my boys have just got some serious talent. And listen, France have got an amazing squad. Germany have some brilliant players, as we know. Italy have some brilliant players. But when it comes to England, forget our defense. Well, our fullbacks are really good. Our central defenders, yeah, okay. But I start looking at that England team, and we have some drippy, silky players full of techers. I'm very, very excited about England's future from an attacking point of view. My English boys, Saka, Sancho, Foden, Mount, Grealish. The sky's the limits. And then you look at the fullback situation. Do you know what I mean? Reece James, Trippier, Walker, Shaw, Chilwell. It's amazing. Legitimately amazing. We're going to have some calls in a second. Man like Gems in the house. He says, I see Cho plus cash going the other way for Sancho coming to Chelsea. Look, I've said for a long time, and again, Chelsea fans don't like to hear this. I'm not throwing salt. I'm speaking from the heart. I don't think Sancho's overtly fancied at the club. I know Tuchel has come out and said that he is. He's got to say that in case he stays. He can't say I don't. He's not part of my plans, and then they can't get rid of him, and he stays there. I just get this feeling. I get a feeling if Chelsea were offered the chance today to sign Sancho and Cho leave as part of the deal, I get a feeling they'd take it, you know. I legitimately think they would take that option. I really, really do. Just looking here, another one of our members says, nah, Sancho is a better player, just not miles ahead, how people in the comments are saying. Oh, I agree. And this is the thing, it's so close. And this is the thing with Mount, with Foden, Grealish, Sancho. There's different nuances to their games, and everybody's entitled to a preference. No matter how you rank them from number 1 to number 4. And do you know what? We're going to do that right now on the show. We're going to get a second poll out right now on Twitter. I think we've got to do it. We've got to have this dialogue today. We're going to get this second poll out now. And what I don't even know what kind of positions to name them as. Okay. I'm just going to write who's the most talented. Who is the most talented English? Try this English playmaker. Question mark. I'm going to write their names. Mount, Grealish, Sancho, or Foden. Right? I'm going to put that out there now. I'm going to put the poll out, and we're going to get it out there. We're going to let Twitter decide. That is what we're going to do. That is what we're going to do today, because that's going to save the arguing in the comment section. Just who's the most talented? That's what we're going with, right? We're going to have Mason Mount in there. And if you think, no, we can only have 4 to be fair on Twitter, so we can't go any more than that. We're going to get Jackie Grealish in there. We're going to get Jadon Sancho. See, if I had an assistant, I wouldn't have to sit here typing this while I'm talking to you, but I've got to. It's the way the cookie crumbles. And then Phil Foden. They're all in there. So who is the most talented English playmaker? There we go. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to put the link into the stream so people can come and join us if they want to have a little chit chat. Make sure you're smashing that like button, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very important that you do that right now for the Terrace. Very, very important for us. Get that done. Boom, boom. That's it. We're good to go. That poll's out. Go and vote now on my personal Twitter account. That's what I'll put it out on. We had another super chat that came through. I don't want to miss it. It says, past 15 years, Chelsea is the best team in the Premier League, not Arsenal or Liverpool or United. Premier League is blue. Fair play. I mean, listen, last 15 years, I mean, you could argue it. Is it 5 Prems? 5 Prems, 2 Champions Leagues, 2 Europa Leagues. You're hard pushed to find a better team in that time period. I don't think it can be argued with. City, of course, pushing hard, but they haven't won a European trophy. And without that European trophy, you can't push forward. Thank you very much there, sir, for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. That means a great deal to us to see people sign up to our membership packages. It hasn't quite come up in front of me yet exactly what level of package you've taken. But thank you very much. You can all, by the way, click on the link in the description below and become an official member of the Football Terrace. We've got a lot of exclusive content coming up for you. The big interview show later on today with Christoph Terra. Member chat and super chat only sections in that show. So make sure you get yourselves tuned in later on today. Sign up to membership to make sure that you're part of that. Tyrone here says, Mount has just won the Champions League. What has Sancho won? I understand your point there. I understand your point in relation to that. But it's about the team that you play for, isn't it? And if Sancho wouldn't be any less talented in the Chelsea team, but he would have had a Champions League winners medal. He did win a domestic trophy with Dortmund this year. And I think, you know, if he picks the right club and that club progresses, he can win major honours. But we're talking about the talent of the players here, not what they've just won. Because if we're going to use that logic, I never want to hear ever a Chelsea fan tell me that Hazard was better than Ryan Giggs. You see what I always speak about on the Terrace, people will yield. Whenever I've seen people say that Hazard's the best winger ever, and then you mention what Giggs has won, they say, well, that doesn't matter. We're talking talent here. When we're talking Sancho against Mount, suddenly it's all about the Champions League. So what is it? Is it about trophies won, or is it about talent, combination of the two? Can you still be more talented than someone that's won more than you? I'm asking a question here because Tyrone, I've definitely seen you before make that argument for Eden Hazard. And that's cool. If we want to base it on trophies, we'll base it on trophies, but we have to stick to one train of thought. We can't do trophies today and then skill and ability tomorrow. And then the day after that, stats. I look at all 3 things. I look at your statistics, I look at your eye test, and I look at what you've won as a player. When it comes to young players, I think the trophy argument is very difficult because who knows what they're going to have won by the end of their careers, as an example. But yeah, I just want to know. And simple as that. Someone says, yeah, but there we go. I just want to know what the logic is here and what the parameters are, because there's no point having a debate until, you know, this is the one thing with most Twitter debates. They're so childish because no one sets the parameter of the debate before it begins. So it just becomes everybody talking. And it's like, okay, well, what are we trying to establish here? What are we trying to establish? Or people come up with their point. No, I'm not talking about that. I don't want that point being thrown into the mix because it debunks you. It's just, honestly, most of these debates are just half-apt nonsense. Let's take a quick look at what the Twitter poll is saying first of all, as that's gone out today. It's going to be really interesting to see. Jadon Sancho leading the way with 33%. Jack Grealish second. Mason Mount third. Phil Foden fourth on that right now. That is how that poll currently looks across Twitter. I will share that on the screen for you all to see. I'm going to put that up on my screen with you all now so you can all see this. You see that there? That's the Twitter poll as it stands right about now. Jackie Grealish leading the way as it stands. We're going to go to some calls now, though. I want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling in relation to these deals this morning. First up, Chelsea fan Abs is on the line. Abs, welcome back to the show, mate. What are you here to say?
All right, before you ask, the beanies for a good reason, dead trim sayings. And you see where it is with... Hold on. Sorry, one sec. Sorry, Terry, but yeah. So you know what it is with Lukaku and Haaland. If you deep it, right, I've always said whichever person we get or whichever one we go for the most is probably going to be the one who's going to act almost like a smokescreen in terms of, in the end, we're probably not going to get them. So for the past few weeks, everyone's been talking about Lukaku, and everyone's been saying Lukaku to Chelsea, and Lukaku's the most, the main number one target. But what I think is going to happen now is, as a result of us not going and getting Lukaku, we're probably going to end up going for Haaland instead. And it's probably a case of they're working on two deals at the same time. So they want to push forward one that's a bit more bait in terms of Lukaku. And then maybe we might end up getting Haaland in the end. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one for me in terms of the Sancho situation as well. Do you see that something that you're gonna attempt to do this summer?
Jadon Sancho, probably not, to be honest, because if you deep it, I don't think if we go and get Haaland, for example, that Borussia Dortmund are going to sell us Sancho, and especially if we're trying to work on getting Haaland, Haaland's ultimately the number one target. So I doubt that Sancho is going to come to Chelsea. I doubt he's actually going to leave Dortmund, if I'm being perfectly honest, because they're in the Champions League. He seems happy there. Yes, there's a agreement in principle with Manchester United in terms of wages and actually moving there, but I genuinely believe that. I don't think the Man United executives are going to pay up the money, and I don't think that Chelsea are going to particularly go for Sancho unless we are willing to get rid of either one of Cho or Ziyech, because there's still, there's not that much space in the squad right now, and there's other areas in the team which need more work before we go and get Jadon Sancho.
Listen, I actually understand that, and I said earlier, I think Jadon Sancho improves that kind of playmaker role. I think he's better than the majority of your playmakers and creators. But you've got brilliant players in those positions still. It's almost strengthening an area that's already really strong. That striker role, that person to put the ball in the back of the net is absolutely key. I actually think a Declan Rice position, CDM role, is something that I think Tuchel is also very much focused on improving. That core area, not just in the short term, but for the longer term as well. Abs, great call, mate. Thank you very much for coming on and having your say. Back by popular demand, next on the show, man like Kai is with us, shooting from the hip. Kai is back here this morning. How you doing, bro?
Good morning, Terry. Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very, very, very well, mate. What's your take on this whole Lukaku, Haaland striker situation?
I mean, I know you and I were both like big fans of Werner when he came in, but god damn, the guy can't even stop a ball, man, let alone score a goal. So, Chelsea needs to do something about that. I think there is something with Havertz. I think he's a very talented finisher, but I think he's just too young for us to depend on him next season. So I think Chelsea needs a striker, but I would love either Lukaku or Haaland. But you know what I would love the most? If we can get Sancho. Not just so I can use your tears to salt my fries, but the fact that we actually do need him. I just think Hudson-Odoi hasn't been it for the last 3 years. People are watching his compilations from Saudi times. Pulisic is made out of glass, and who else do we have? And Ziyech has my pace, basically, man. So
I assume you're not quick.
Yeah, I am quick, just as quick as Ziyech. I'm not as quick as Werner, so I'm quick as Ziyech, So yeah, Chelsea needs to do something, Chelsea needs to do something about it. I'm tired of sorry. I'm just tired of all this emotions to player, man. What has Odoi have done in the last 3 years, man? Yeah, he's from the academy, but he's pretty much useless, man. He is injured or out of form. Chelsea needs something now, and Sancho would be brilliant if we can get him for 70 million.
Listen, I like a lot of the players you've mentioned for Chelsea. I think they're good players. Sancho's just a cut above them, in my opinion. And
exactly.
A lot of people want to put him. I think a lot of people are putting him down because they do believe he's going to Man United, and it's almost an element of, if you start saying he's brilliant and then he goes to Man United, you box yourself into a corner where you've got to say that he's brilliant. So a lot of people are still sort of sitting there saying, actually, I think he's a bit overrated, or he's a bit this and he's a bit that. But you could tell by Man United fans, if he goes Chelsea, I actually think there'll be a bigger backlash than the Super League from Man United fans, generally speaking, because this is a player that this guy flies back to Manchester on every single day off he has in Germany and has done for the past 18 months. He loves being in Manchester. Although he's from London, I believe, Manchester's his city now. Like, because of the time he spent there in the academy, his friends are from there. He spends a lot of time there. He wants to come back to the Prem. He's happy to join Man United. He agreed personal terms 15 months ago. We won't put the bid in. To lose that, to have it in that situation and then to lose it, that's like bagging Maya Jama, and she's there for it. All you've got to do is text her and say, what day are we going out? And you never do it.
But
it'd be that bad.
He's a Chelsea fan though. So if we actually put the bid for him,
mate,
but
you
I
can
don't know if it'll happen.
Chelsea can turn his head. I agree with you. Like this notion that his head can't be turned, I think is crazy as well. But Chelsea summer's going to be really interesting. I want to get your take as well because, of course, he's ex-Chelsea. Conte supposedly joining Tottenham. What's your thoughts, mate?
I'm gonna quote him here, man. He said a Chelsea win is an expectation. At Tottenham, it's hope, man. And I'm just gonna leave it at that, man. There
we go. Listen, bro, thanks for coming back on the show, mate, and having your say. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Top man. You too, buddy. Thank you. Next up, we're going to get Jason on the line this morning. James on. Then we're getting Jason on. Sorry, I had James and Jason next to each other. My dyslexic brain just fried itself. James is on next. James, who do you support, mate?
Hey, buddy. I support Liverpool, man.
Lovely. What are you here to say today?
Yeah, I just reckon Liverpool, it doesn't get spoken enough about, but I really reckon Liverpool need to go after a mid that can score goals but also feed the front three. I think all the time, the biggest thing we're missing from Gerrard was he'd be able to pull the strings for Suarez and Sturridge to run into those gaps. And I just think every midfielder we've played just hasn't been able to feed the front three. And I think that's what we need to go after.
And who would be your target? Who would be the player that you want sort of Jurgen Klopp and FSG to target in that way?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I used to think Ruben from the Wolves would be good, but I looked at his stats and he doesn't score many goals, which I was actually surprised about. Neves. Neves would be the guy, but yeah, I'm just open. We need a De Bruyne type of player. I think if we got a play like that, Liverpool would just go another level.
Yeah, I mean, do you not think Thiago not meant to be the guy that can thread those balls into the front line?
He holds the ball pretty deep, and I don't think his forward passing's at the level of like a Gerrard that demands you to jump on that ball. I feel Thiago's he's just a comfortable player to have on the ball. Look, he's a good long passer, I would say. But that kind of, even the Coutinho's been able to score outside of the box at times. I just think you're going to need that player because so many people push back against Liverpool now that you're not getting open space to even attack, that you need players to be able to pop shots from outside of the box. And I'm just open. We haven't been linked to anyone, but I'm open to hearing that kind of player.
Mate, I hear you on that. Listen, great call, James. Thanks for coming on the show and having
Thanks for having me, man.
Not a problem at all. Top man, thank you. Hamid here with a super chat says, Sancho is a Chelsea supporter. Dream on Terry. Update on the poll. It is so close right now. Jadon Sancho slightly leading the way with 32%. Jack Grealish second on 31%. Getting close between Phil Foden and Mason Mount as well. It does appear that we've triggered a man like Cam. If you're watching Cam, I hope you're well, bro. He says the Saka agenda is real. In fairness, you can't put more than 4 options in on Twitter. That's why it's there. We'll do the poll again on YouTube later and we'll add Saka in there. All fan vote. But let's say a man like Josh here says Kane. Kane is the most talented English playmaker and goal scorer. I understand where that's coming from. Mike here says most talented playmaker, Grealish or Sancho, combination of talent and efficiency, Mason Mount. It's interesting. I mean, what I would say about that when it comes to efficiency, the outputs is how you measure efficiency, in my opinion. And when you look at the outputs of these individuals, you can't look beyond Jadon Sancho. You just can't, in my opinion. You just can't. But I want your views. I want your opinions. Also, if you want to speak Conte, phone in. Kieran Trippier to Manchester United. We're taking calls on that today as well. We've, of course, got Christoph Terror on later on today. Think today about the questions you would like to pose to him. Member chats and super chats will be posed to him later on today on the show. And this evening when we host and open up the normal Terrace show tonight, we'll also be doing our rankings for Player of the Year. So make sure you're staying tuned. You have bell notifications turned on so you know when we are going live. Next on the show, we're going to have Jason back with us this morning. Welcome back, Jason. What do you want to say?
Hi, Terry. Hope you're well. I think the Haaland deal to Chelsea and Jadon Sancho deals to United, that could be a major game changer, you know. I think Chelsea need a top quality striker, obviously, and Sancho would improve massively on the right-hand side because United needed him, Sancho, for the last few years because they had something lacking on the right, which is really important, and Sancho's one of the, I think, perfect replacement there. And I want to say about Haaland, I mean, obviously, what it should be, I think Dortmund should be, I don't know, I think they're under pressure. I mean, obviously, because the release clause of 67 million next year, that is basically, I don't know, I'm not too sure if they'll get the 150 million that is required, but yeah, I think Dortmund would lower the price to like 100 million or whatsoever, but I'm not too sure. It's just basically the pressure. I think they might have the pressure selling him on a cheap.
Yeah, well, I think this is what you've got. I think what Chelsea have got to do is test the water and say, okay, you're saying you're not selling him. You'd rather sell him for cheaper next year. Great. There's £130 million plus Callum Hudson-Odoi on loan for 2 years. Now what? You've got to test the water. Roman Abramovich got an absolute hard-on for him. There is no doubts about that. So for me, I just think it would be silly for Chelsea not to try. I think Chelsea will try. I think Chelsea will do something in relation to Haaland this summer to see what they can pull off. I really do. I want to ask you as an Arsenal fan, Conte to Chelsea, serial winner, peak of his powers. How do you feel about that appointment as an Arsenal fan?
I'm jealous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm quite jealous, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to be a bit more toxic, you know, because Conte kind of left Inter Milan because of financial stuff. Obviously, the lack of ball. I think Levy won't back him. It could be a little spark. I'm not too sure. Like, I don't know. It would work out at the same time. I think Spurs will do well, but at the same time, I don't know, between Levy and Conte, I'm not too sure if that's a good mix. If you know what I mean. With Levy, like, obviously, if he's not going to back him, then the way they've been spending over the last 2 years, then who knows? It's going to be it could be a backlash.
No, mate, I totally get you on it. I think there's definitely some elements of this deal where there's a bit of nerves. There's a bit of nerves, 110% with this deal, because if they don't back him, I mean, he could walk. He could walk before the season begins. That's how crazy it is with him. But if it goes the other way, North London is white. That's all I'm going to say.
I wouldn't say that.
Say, bro. All I'm going to say. My guy, listen, thanks for coming on, having your say. Cheers, Jace. Top man. Thank you. Next on the show, we're going to go to Mr. Singh next. Mr. Singh's with us. What you saying, bro?
Hello.
Oh, yeah, that's you, mate. You phoned in. What do you want to say?
Yeah. So, okay. Hi, Terry. How are you? So as a Man United fan, I'm glad that I hope that we get to sign Sancho. But at the same time, I'm really confused about what happens with Amad Diallo and the other guy we signed in the summer.
Pellistri.
What's his name? Pellistri. Yeah. What happens to them? Are they going to still...
Pellestri's looking to go back out on loan, so I won't worry about him. Ahmad, if he's good enough, he'll break through. And this is what I think fans... It's weird, right? Social media has...
Because whatever I've seen with Ahmad, he looks like a real talent. That's a good thing.
And that's why it doesn't matter.
He's a good talent.
That's why I wouldn't worry. Social media has done this thing where it never used to happen before, where fans panic at signing good players because they're worried about the development of a youngster or how much game time their favorite player is going to get. My advice is drop that train of thought. If Ahmad is good enough and he has the minerals and the work rate and the desire to make it, signing Sancho isn't going to stop him. It's about pushing through that barrier and, elbowing your way through and saying, I'm going to start. I'm going to deliver. I think it's a good idea to have some talent in front of Ahmad because it relieves the pressure from him because he's so young. So, yeah, for me, it's nothing but a positive. Plus, Sancho can play left and right. So if Ahmad starts going to next levels and needs to play, then and he's performing better on the right hand side than Sancho, maybe Sancho goes onto the left hand side and outs Rashford As a Man United fan, I don't care who starts out of those players as long as we're winning games. And I think that for me is Man United winning football matches is more important than any one player's individual development. If
that I agree. And what about the Pogba situation? If Pogba leaves, I personally don't think he'll leave this summer. But there's a good chance he may leave next summer as a free agent. But if he leaves, then what happens to Donny van de Beek? Is he the replacement for Pogba, or should Man United look after?
Oh, mate, listen, I really don't.
I am confused with Pogba because I know he's a good talent, but at the same time, I would love to see Donny just, maybe it's better. I just feel it's a hunch that he should just leave the club. I mean, Pogba should just leave the club and let's just see what happens.
What do you want to happen, though?
It's a tough call, to be honest, but I think Pogba should leave. And let's just get some money out of it and, invest it somewhere else, like especially in a CDM. We desperately need one. And I don't think Declan Rice is going to join in, but we can sign someone like Sol Niguez or invest in somewhere, in the defensive area.
Fair enough. Listen, bro, thank you for your call this morning.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Look, Man United do let Pogba leave. There has to be a Sal Niguez, Declan Rice, and we've got to sign someone like a quality midfielder. It may not be like for like in terms of position, but we need to sign a proper midfielder. Can't be letting him go and there be no replacement. Ro here says United and Arsenal need to sign a world-class manager, not players. It is really bad for the league. For these clubs having average managers. I'd love a world-class manager at my club, but highly unlikely to happen. Update now on the poll, ladies and gentlemen. Update here on the poll that's come through. Sancho still leading here on 32. Grealish second. And it's now neck and neck between Mason Mount and Phil Foden, as you can see. It is neck and neck between the two of them. It really, really is. It's very, very close here. It truly, truly is. So make sure you are sharing that tweet. So go and retweet it, quote tweet it, send it to your friends. Get everybody you can involved in it. Who is going to come out on top? Next on the show, we've got man like Darren here. He's a Chelsea fan. What you saying, bro?
Yeah, what's good, Terry, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Where you been? Swimming?
No, I just had a quick shower. I'm going to sort out the hair real quick,
No worries, brother.
Yeah.
What you here to say, mate?
Yeah, no, I was just, to be fair, touch on a few of the topics today. The first thing, obviously, this whole Dortmund-Chelsea situation. Do you remember a couple streams back when like Sancho to Man U was like the main thing? And I made the point that I'm fairly certain Chelsea are going to sniff about and see if the interest increases, we'll probably go in there. And now, looking at our situation, I think it's a lot more stronger than it was ever before. Because honestly, if Kane is very difficult to get, Lukaku, very difficult to get. Haaland, also very difficult to get. The next top signing that I look around, I know obviously striker is what we want to get, but after that, there's not many top guys. And a signing we could make that's like worth the price, like proper worth the price and worth the risk. Sancho, I think, is the next guy. And I think with other suitors a bit, like I say, Man U might have issues of money and whatnot. I truly feel like Chelsea will probably look and say, you know what, let's just put all our eggs in that basket for this transfer window. Because Chelsea, I know a lot of people are looking at us and talking about spending money and we're definitely gonna probe, but Chelsea is our board. We don't splash. We don't go like PSG or Barcelona and go 150, bam, 160 on one player. Marina and the board, they always try to get the best deal. And I know the board hates when other clubs try to play hardball, like this whole Lukaku thing with Inter Milan. I know that's for me. I think that's BS. They're just playing hard to get. They don't want Marina to come in and be like, well, we're only going to pay 70 mil for him when Lukaku could. He's one of the best strikers in the world right now. You don't want to let him go for 70 mil. So I don't know. I think right now, Chelsea, we're going to be looking at different options, but I think Sancho right now, for me, is probably the most realistic, and it's worth it because he's young. Out of all the guys there, other than Haaland, of course, he's young, so it's worth the money. And I think you said earlier, you said something about like your Mason Mounts, your Greenwoods, your that sort of bunch. We got Havertz last season for 72 million.
Yeah.
With all the success we've had this season, looking back, I'm thinking that is one hell of a signing, because if we had waited a year or waited whatever, he's easily worth 120 million. So Sancho right now being on his last year or whatever, if you can get him for 80 million with what he's already shown, that is a snatch. If no club's going in for that, it's crazy.
Bro, honestly, it would pain me as well. And I know that we would not see KJ on the show for about 5 months. I think KJ would retire from hosting. It would kill him. It would kill him, bruv. It would. And I'd feel the same. I actually think missing out on Sancho, there's elements of me that feel like it'd be a worse feeling than losing the Europa League final. It was just because it's in our grasp. It's there. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, this is what it would feel like. I mentioned Maya Jama earlier. That'd be bad to miss up on that, right? But imagine this. Imagine this, right? You're with a girl and you quite like her. And you're like, oh, I'm going to end it though, because I just can't be dealing with it. And then as you're breaking up with her, she starts smiling, and you're like, "Why? What? And she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, last night I won the Euro Millions." Do you know what I mean? That's how. Like, no, why? No, that's how I feel. Yeah, it'd be like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" Yeah, the mad one. Listen, Dazza, thanks for coming on the show, mate, and having your say. Man. Really appreciate it, brother. Top man. On Jadon Sancho, people, in his Dortmund career, he has scored in 45% of the games he's played in domestically, and he has assisted in 50% of the games he has played in domestically. He creates over 2.24 chances per game, and his second assist level is astronomical as well. His pre-assist is high as well, one of the highest pre-assisters in the German league over the past 3 years as well. He is nothing short of sensational, and he would improve every single team in the Premier League if he joined exponentially. He would. There is no doubt about it in my mind. Next on the show, we're going to go to Anant. Is going to be on the show with us. Welcome to the terrace. What do you want to say, buddy? And who do you support?
Hi, bro. Big ups from New Delhi, India. Am I audible?
Yes, bro. I can hear you, bro. Who do you support, my guy?
I'm a huge Chelsea fan.
What are you here to say, my friend?
Regarding the Conte deal, it would be a bit disappointing to see Conte go to Spurs as it may ruin his legacy at Chelsea. Although he may be a bit pissed that we sacked him, but Conte and Levy is a recipe made for disaster, in my opinion, because Conte is a guy who wants money every single transfer window, and as we know, Levy, what he did with Poch and after with Mourinho also, that he doesn't like to give even a pound out of his pockets. So I would be really surprised to see him stay at Tottenham for more than a season or two.
Mate, I'd be surprised if he stays at any club more than a season or two. But we love being surprised in football. It's going to be an interesting one to see how Conte plans out. It literally, I think it's either. I think it's going to be sensational, and he's going to be the best Tottenham manager in the Premier, or it's going to be disastrous. It's one of those two things that are happening here. There's no doubt about it.
Like flip of a coin. It would be heads or tails, nothing in between.
100%. My guy, thank you for calling in and having your say this morning. Really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. I was about to say something, and it left my mind. Oh, yeah. A few people are saying that Sancho's stats mean nothing because they're in Germany. Cool. So based on that logic, Harry Kane is the best striker in the world then? We can't say Lewandowski can't be Ballon d'Or winner, yeah? Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. You see how, like, agendas ruin football debates all the time. It's so mad. If you think we shouldn't take the outputs of Sancho seriously because of the league in which he has done it in, then we can't take what he's done we can't take what Lewandowski's done seriously, can we? We can't rate Kimmich. We can't rate Gnabry. We can't rate Haaland. Jude Bellingham, average, isn't he? How does this work, people? What are we talking about? I'm so confused. It's a madness. Oh, it's a rubbish league. Oh, yeah, Kane's the best striker in the world. How can you sleep on Lewandowski? What? Oh, it's crazy. Agendas do what you all been watching too much Have Hope. Too much Have Hope out here. By the way, yeah, I would rate Lewandowski, Kante for the Ballon d'Or. That isn't the point of the conversation here. You've completely missed it if that's what you're typing. The point is, people were saying last year, Lewandowski. Some of you, like Twisted Bubba, I've seen you say it in my comment section. Lewandowski's clear of Kane. But yet when it comes to Sancho's stats, you say it's nothing because he's in a bad league. So how can you rate Lewandowski above Kane? In the mud, Twisted Baba. In the mud, I say. Listen, it's what always happens. I'm in this game too long. I don't know everything about football. I'm not an encyclopedia on football knowledge. I don't always have the best takes. I don't always have the best opinions. I'm not arrogant enough to believe that. But my logic remains the same. Talent, outputs, trophies. All three things go into the conversation about who the best is, who the greatest is, etc. People have to chop and change to get their favorite player on top. So you always lose. You always lose. Next on the show, Josh Sutton is here. Now, don't run away crying, Twisted Bubba. Oh, I'm going to leave now. I'm going to unsubscribe. I can't take it. Come on, bro. You're just in the mud today. You're proper in the, like, it's up to here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw you a rope, my brother, and help pull you out. Okay, Josh Sutton in the house. Man United fan. What are you here to say, buddy?
Oh, I just want to follow up on your point of player versus player, league versus league. I think that there is an argument to be made, say Jadon Sancho might have maybe a season of lower outputs adjusting to a team in a league that he's done his last few years in Germany. And yes, the overall quality is lower, but his stats have been immense. I would say at worst, you'd probably see maybe a 20 to 30% drop off in his sort of outputs that he's averaged at the moment. I just basically because the higher quality of leagues, the higher quality of players, and I mean he's coming into a team that the creativity isn't there for the players to get the stats that we want to see. So the consistent 20, 30 assists and goals per year. I think he might have a bit of a low return, but when you're comparing top line players, Kane, you could even go Cavani a few years back, Ibrahimovic. They've done it all over the place, and it's not so much about the league you're in, but it's about the competitions you play in. I mean, you look at these top line players, like I think Kane, he's got the golden boot, despite that was in the last World Cup, I think, for England. So like you just got to have a look at where they've performed and apply context, because I think it's just ludicrous to say that, Lewandowski, he's been consistently in the Champions League, but Bayern Munich, while they are the best team in Germany every year, you can't just go and score, 40 goals when you're getting... Just to point this out as well. So people are saying you can't count Sancho in this conversation because he has no Champions League pedigree. So let's look at the facts. Grealish then can't be spoken about because he's never played a game in the Champions League. So suddenly you've got a discount. How good, based on this logic, based on the Sancho agenda today, it means you now can't rate Grealish because he's never kicked the ball in the Champions League. So they've moved the goalpost now to but there's no Champions League pedigree. You've got a discount. That's ludicrous.
One second. You've got a discount his league pedigree because it isn't the Prem, and now you've got a discount his Champions League. He didn't do it in the Champions League. So let's just look at the facts here. Phil Foden has scored in 31% of his Champions League games and assisted in 26. Mason Mount has scored in 14% and assisted in 14%. Jadon Sancho scored in 29%, assisted in 35%. So Jadon Sancho's pedigree in the Champions League is in and around the same level as Phil Foden. Phil Foden's in a better team. We would probably all agree. The agenda towards Jadon Sancho absolutely stinks. It stinks. Every time they move the goalpost, they then take another player out of the equation because all they're trying to do is bury Jadon Sancho, but they end up destroying their own logic in that same timepiece. Listen, Josh, thank you very much for calling in, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it. Top man. Thank you. There we go. No, I know the guy was agreeing with me. I know he was agreeing with me 100%. I was reiterating that fact 110%. By the way, I think Grealish, Foden, Mount, Sancho, all amazing. And do you know what? If you put Jack Grealish in a better team, you would see him improve. I think Mason Mount, why he's, what's interesting with Mason Mount, he's got the lowest goal contribution ratio of the four we've mentioned this morning. But if you actually look at his chances created in the Champions League, I'm waiting for this to load back up in front of me now. It's taken an eternity. Just under 1 per game. It's a little bit lower than everybody else. But we know why that is. Because Chelsea have had an issue at the top end of the game with other players. You suddenly throw a Haaland and maybe another creator into that mix up front with Chelsea and watch Mount's numbers go up at the same time. Equally, if you put Jadon Sancho into an even better team than Dortmund, I think you see it grow exponentially again. But my point is this. For me, don't discount Sancho because the league he's in, because it suddenly means all the world-class players in that league we now have to say are trash, which is stupid. Equally, he ain't done it in the Champions League, though, so he can't be rated. At the same time, everybody's here thorning over and drooling over Jack Grealish as an example. Plus, what he actually produces in the Champions League is above and beyond the other two players in the argument that you're saying are light years in front of him. It makes no sense. It's just bad logic, bad football take, and then just not knowing the facts. Simple as that for me. Mason Mount created the second. Listen, Mason Mount's amazing, Nathaniel. I'm not slagging him up. This isn't even what the argument is about. It's not even what the argument is about. It's not even it. The argument was we shouldn't assess Sancho as a top player because he's only done it in the Bundesliga. That was the argument. It's not Mount hasn't created. And then we were talking about Champions League pedigree. So please don't get stuck in the mud on those comments there, Nathaniel. It's not what we're doing here. It's not about putting him down at all. Sancho gets cussed because, literally, everybody's setting it up for him to go to a rival team rather than being part of their own. It's as simple as that for me. We've got BM on the show next. BM, welcome to the terrace. What are you here to say?
Hey. So I'd just like to say that the comment that German Bundesliga is shit is I don't think that's a proper pedigree. You can see teams like Leipzig, like Dortmund, teams like Bayern Leverkusen there. And it's just, I don't get it. People act.
They go on, continue, mate. Are you there, BM?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
So, about the transfer issues, about transfer issues. I'm a MU fan. So I think we have to go by priority instead of buying big players. If you ask me, is it Sancho versus central defender and central defensive midfielder? I'd go for the latter. CM and CDM is much more important than Sancho now because we are really, really deep in that area. Sancho maybe 1 or 2 years later, we still have depth in that area. We still can score goals, but our center defense and central defense, we should get a right back at Toronto because one Bissaka got injured. No cover at all.
Yeah, we're struggling with the signal. Struggling with it, BM. We're struggling with the signal a little bit, mate. Try and call back with a better signal for us, mates. We can't really hear what you're saying. But thank you very much for calling in and having your say. Really appreciate that, my guy. Thank you. I couldn't really hear him too much in terms of what he was saying there. Update on the poll here. Jack Grealish has taken the lead on 31%, but he hasn't done it in the Champions League. They're gonna cry. Look at that. Mason Mount in third place. Behind Jadon Sancho and Phil Foden there, bottom of the pile in relation to that poll. We're going to do one final call today. Ricky911 is with us. What are you saying, Ricky?
Hey, Terry, how are you?
I'm very well. What are you here to say?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to say something short about this agenda against Sancho. I'm a Liverpool fan, but it's just absolutely rubbish, this agenda that is there against English players playing abroad. It's actually a good thing that's happening. And German league is legit. There's so many good players coming out of the French league. And a few years back, if you remember, De Bruyne played in Wolfsburg and made a lot of assists, and Chelsea missed out on them, and Man City got a legend of a player. So it's I don't agree with that at all. Sancho might very well be the next big thing in England. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you, Terry, is that what do you think? This has been a weird 1.5 years, and a lot of weird things are happening. If you follow the NBA, Lakers are almost crashing out with LeBron. The Premier League was pretty weird. The French Open tennis having problems. My question is that I have a feeling that none of the big marquee signings are going to happen this time. Like Haaland is not going to go anywhere. Lukaku is not going to go anywhere. Conte is not going to agree with his wages with Levy. And maybe it's all about finding those niche signings this year for the teams. What do you think are the chances?
Listen, I think it's a fair point. I think it's a fair point that it could be difficult. It could be difficult for some of these big signings to go through. A lot of teams might decide to stick rather than twist in relation to selling, because it isn't just about selling your star. It's about who you're going to get in to replace them, the situation that teams are in, and stuff like that. So I think it might take one big signing to create a bit of a domino effect, if that makes sense. And maybe there is this sense of maybe people are holding back from each other, but who knows? It's such a difficult one right now. And, with the news of Conte joining Tottenham, does that mean Kane will stay? Does that mean he will want to stay? Lukaku, does he genuinely want to stay and will reject the move to Chelsea? No one really knows. No one can give a straight answer to that, but I think it's a really good question that you pose there. It really is. Ricky, thanks for coming on and having your say today. Really appreciate that, my guy. Everyone that's tuned in this morning, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Love the chat. Love the banter. I have shared the link. I'll share it again for you now in the live comment section for the poll that's running right now in relation to these players. Jack Grealish still leading the way. Still leading the way there, as you can see, with 31% of the vote. But get yourselves across to that now. Get yourselves voting. Make sure you've subscribed to the Football Terrace this morning and you turn on that bell notification button. It's very, very important that you do that. We've got Christoph Terra on the show later on today, transfer expert, football expert and journalist. Very excited about bringing him to you all. But until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye